Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Love and Life, the channel where we share knowledge for holistic self-development through great books. In the forest of world literature, there are many classic works, but rarely does a book impact the historical process of an era. Among them, the novel Uncle Tom's Cabin by American writer Harriet Beecher Stowe is a masterpiece that had the most profound influence in the 19th century. It was a bestseller, translated into dozens of languages, and sparked the abolitionist movement across America. The first time I read this book, I saw the stormy, tragic life of Uncle Tom. I felt pain for the trampled fate of people of color in the American South. I also clearly heard the voice exposing the dark crimes of the slave system. But when I read it a second time, I understood another layer of meaning: the philosophy of life hidden beneath the political cloak of this novel. Therefore, in today's video, Love and Life would like to share with you that profound philosophy derived from this classic novel. I hope it will give you much to reflect on and help you gain lessons in life wisdom so you can live truly courageous and happy in the best state. Now please listen to today's sharing. Superiority is like inner wear. You cannot flaunt it. A truly strong person will never act superior. A noble life does not need to be adorned with a sense of superiority. In life, there are people who rely on a sense of superiority to build an invisible social class, believing that based on that, they are more graceful, more capable, and hold a higher position than others. Conversely, there are people who always receive genuine respect from everyone around them due to their humility and equal-minded heart. Reading this novel, you will understand that all superiority does not come from appearance, knowledge, family background, wealth, status, achievement, or power. It only stems from ignorance and a lacking heart. The story begins in the 19th century before the American Civil War. The southern United States was primarily governed by white people, and people of color became cheap labor, mainly working on cotton plantations. The main character is Uncle Tom, a man of color who had to survive in that dark and harsh environment. After many ups and downs at a slave auction, Uncle Tom was sold to a plantation owner named Simon Legree, an extremely cruel man. Like all slave owners and those who profited from the slave trade, Simon saw people as nothing more than material objects, only using them as tools to make a profit. One day, during the cotton harvest, wanting to prevent the slaves from being lazy, Simon appointed Sambo and Quimbo, who were also black, as overseers to manage the remaining slaves. You might think that being of the same race and color, they would sympathize with each other's circumstances. Yet Sambo and Quimbo, because they had gained a little power, developed a strong sense of superiority. They exploited their privilege to flaunt this feeling of being better than others by whipping those who didn't pick enough cotton. They immediately tormented anyone they didn't like. They forcibly coerced beautiful new female slaves to be their own, regardless of destroying the woman's marriage and family happiness. Sambo and Quimbo acted so haughtily, as if they were the true rulers of the plantation. They actively suppressed all the other black people. A French writer, diplomat, and politician once said that a person absolutely cannot look at others with hatred and contempt while simultaneously demonstrating their superiority. In fact, as the psychologist Alfred Adler researched in his classic psychology book, What Life Should Mean to You, which discusses how the sense of inferiority and superiority affects a person's entire life happiness. He pointed out that the sense of superiority is the craving for an idealized self. It is the emotional experience a person gets after achieving that idealized self. Besides that, the sense of superiority only arises when a person experiences a sense of inferiority first, and then strives with all their might to achieve a feeling of being superior to others. This process only exists to affirm one's existence in this world. In other words, a sense of superiority always stems from inadequacy and inferiority, and everyone has it. Sambo and Quimbo, rising from slaves to overseers, developed a sense of superiority. Or, you being at the top of your class will generate a sense of superiority. Being ranked the best employee of the year will create a feeling of being superior. Having a beautiful lover will also give you a sense of superiority. Or simply in life, you will commonly see urban people feel superior to those from the provinces. Highly educated people often feel superior to those with low education. People who earn a lot of money often feel superior to those with lower incomes. Or beautiful people often feel superior to those with ordinary appearances. In fact, having a sense of superiority is understandable when humans are born with a physical body and live in a materialistic society. But the alarming thing here is that many people express their superiority by always trying at all costs to prove it to others. Only when many people see it can that person experience their self-worth. In relationships, proving superiority can be done by showing off, comparing themselves with people around the maras, comparing houses, cars, spouses, children's academic achievements. In social interaction, it can be looking down on others. In the workplace, it can be experienced employees bullying newcomers, testing them, or giving life lessons. In school, it can be bullying, social isolation, or fierce competition for achievement. There are even ways to demonstrate superiority in the name of morality or humanity, explicitly demanding, "We've been friends for so many years. How can you not help me with just this one thing? You're so rich. What's the harm in lending me some money?" There are even people with innate confidence who are clearly very ordinary but strangely confident, always able to look down on others with half an eye. The truth is, a sense of superiority is just like inner wear. The more you flaunt it, the more repulsive outsiders find it. We need to know that the greater the lack, the greater the need to show off. The more inadequate a person feels, the more they need external validation to prove their worth. In psychology, there is an effect called the Dunning-Kruger effect, which is the illusion of one's own competence. In reality, people often have a cognitive bias that makes them overestimate their abilities compared to their actual level. This is true for many people, including the characters Sambo and Quimbo. In the eyes of the plantation owner, they were nothing more than two pawns, just tools to be exploited. Once a better option for the overseer position became available, these two would certainly be discarded at any moment. Ultimately, all feelings of superiority are just a distorted mentality. Only people with a shallow and vain inner self believe that because they have traveled widely, eaten at many high-end restaurants, know powerful people, hold high degrees, or come from a wealthy family, they are somehow higher than others. There is a saying in Rousseau's work that is very true. The feeling of pride is merely insecurity trampling on one's own head. The more you try to prove yourself, the narrower the path of your life becomes. The second owner of Uncle Tom was Augustin St. Clare. Unlike most other cruel plantation owners, Augustin did not discriminate against people of color, but his wife, Marie, was the complete opposite. Marie came from a wealthy, happy family with servants at her beck and call. She should have been the most comfortable person in the manor, but she constantly sighed and complained that no one around truly cared about her. All of this stemmed from her habit of valuing her own superiority, always putting others down to elevate herself. On the one hand, she enjoyed the benefits of the unjust slave system. On the other, she arrogantly positioned herself as the savior of people of color, believing that without her supervision, the slaves would surely die. After marrying to secure the best service, Marie resorted to every scheme to separate her servant's family and forced the servant to follow her. Marie's habit was to make the servant stay up all night, then complain about her headache and demand everyone's attention. One day, because the female servant accidentally fell asleep and didn't immediately notice Marie's headache, Marie flew into a rage. She accused the servant of being selfish, claiming it was because she was too generous with people of color that such things happened. When Augustin advised his wife to put herself in the servant's shoes and stop separating their family, Marie smirked contemptuously and said, "A black person couldn't possibly have such rich feelings as I do." However, in the eyes of others, the person who was truly selfish, indifferent, hypocritical, and incapable of caring for anyone but herself was Marie. Over time, her husband saw through her and no longer seriously listened to her complaints. The servants, too, became so used to Marie's unreasonable demands that they began to serve her perfunctorily. Just like that, Marie was trapped by her internal feeling of superiority and gradually lived like an isolated island. In reality, we also encounter many people like Marie. After living abroad for a few years, when they return home, they inevitably speak English words mixed in with every Vietnamese sentence. Or, on social media, many people live virtual lives, loving to show off every detail of their lives. You will notice that conversations with people who have a strong superiority complex always contain a lot of I and very little you. They look for ways to turn the conversation back to themselves at any moment. People who like to demonstrate their superiority have very clear behaviors in social or intimate relationships. They deny everything about the other person, focus on their flaws, frequently criticize, humiliate the other person, and are skilled at finding every opportunity to show off their own strengths. Especially, they will try at all costs to hide their own flaws. But precisely because they cannot see, or pretend not to see, their own shortcomings, they can never achieve true progress in life. People with a strong sense of superiority often lack empathy and cannot put themselves in the other person's shoes. In fact, superiority never makes them feel satisfied because they are not pursuing true excellence. They just want to prove they are better than others. Therefore, their instinct is to praise themselves and believe that others cannot compare to them. From there, complacency and arrogance become their habit. However, they don't know that gilding themselves only blinds others. It doesn't bring the warmth of the sun to the other person. Only when you restrain your feeling of superiority and look at people and life with an equal heart, can you gain genuine respect and sincere treatment from those around you. And only then will your life path truly open up and become authentic. The highest courage of a person is looking down without arrogance and looking up without shame. In Marie's view, only force could tame all the black people on the plantation. Augustine St. Clare visited his brother's manor and saw his brother pursuing a runaway black man. This slave, who fiercely craved freedom, was named Scipio. He was tall and extremely strong. He single-handedly knocked down the overseers who were trying to subdue him with force, and then ran away. Augustine's brother was furious, sending men and bloodhounds to chase Scipio. But Scipio fought back, and no one could get near him until he was shot and wounded. To prevent the crowd from killing the innocent Scipio, Augustine intervened, protected him, and purchased Scipio as his own slave. Augustine bought Scipio from his brother, took him to a room, prepared a comfortable bed, bandaged his wounds, and cared for him himself. When Scipio was fully recovered, Augustine signed a certificate of freedom, allowing Scipio to go wherever he wanted. But surprisingly, Scipio, who had tried to escape many times before, tore up the certificate and said he didn't want to leave Augustine. Later, when his master contracted a serious infectious disease, Scipio, without any fear, insisted on staying by Augustine's side and caring for him until his last breath. In reality, Augustine was not higher in rank or richer than his brother, but he inspired such genuine loyalty from Scipio. That was because Augustine abandoned his sense of superiority and treated the person lower than him with an equal heart. If you have a question in a relationship about whether you should continue to deepen your relationship with a person, look at how that person treats those less fortunate than them. Because worshiping the strong is human nature, but caring for and treating the weak equally is something not everyone can do. When a person walks 1,000 miles and reads 1,000 books, when a person has an equal heart and merges with the world around them, that person will realize their own smallness and clearly understand that all achievements and glory are temporary. Only by lowering the desire to prove yourself can you accumulate true strength. As Einstein said, when you look down on someone, you have come very close to failure. But when you respect someone, you are not far from success. The highest achievement and greatest courage of a person comes when they stand in a position higher than others, yet still possess humility and restrain their sense of superiority. The work Uncle Tom's Cabin is not only an anti-slavery novel, but also a survival philosophy that exposes human nature. In the book, when facing his wife's criticism of the servant, Augustine said, "If we were in their position, we might not do as well as they do." That's right. Perhaps you will find that often, when you unconsciously display your superiority, it is actually because you lack self-confidence and want to protect yourself. Therefore, every time you step out, you must put on armor. That armor could be your degree, title, family background, money, and so on. Superiority becomes an invisible armor for you. You might also unconsciously demonstrate a sense of superiority simply because you want others to recognize, admire, or praise you. Because of this, you cover yourself with all sorts of jewelry. Those pieces of jewelry might be material things, fame, achievements, or circumstances. But the more brightly you decorate yourself, the more blinded you become, unable to clearly see yourself. In the long run, even you won't know who your true self is anymore. If a person cannot be sincere with themselves, how can they demand sincerity from others? So, every time you observe a sense of superiority beginning to rise, you can ask yourself, what has fueled this feeling of superiority in me? Ask yourself if you are seeking praise and validation. Observe if you often criticize, look down on, and only see the flaws of others. Ask yourself if you want someone to completely obey your words. And don't think that the story in this book, condemning an unjust society with people of color, is something grand that has nothing to do with me. You will see that from Uncle Tom's Cabin to To Kill a Mockingbird, that injustice stems from the white person's sense of superiority. And even today, discrimination based on race, ethnicity, wealth, beauty, ugliness, fatness, thinness, perfection, and disability still continues in this very life. That is because every one of us is pursuing or possesses a certain sense of superiority. Once you treat people with an equal heart, looking down without arrogance, looking up without complex, and not showing off in front of others, you will see that everyone is, in fact, the same. All things are one with you. The feeling of superiority will cease to arise within you. You will not crave to stand at the top, nor will you look down on those at the bottom of the mountain. No matter what your circumstances, you will not be trapped in a precarious state, wandering between the two extremes of inferiority complex and superiority complex. This is the best state for a truly courageous and outstanding person. Besides that, you also need to know that only when you are balanced can the world be fair. As the American psychologist Daniel Goleman wrote in the book Emotional Intelligence, the degree to which you make others feel comfortable determines the height you can reach. And the last thing I want to convey to all of you in today's video, may all of us let go of the feeling of superiority, take off the invisible armor and the external ornaments made of superiority, maintain an equal heart, and treat others just as sincerely as you treat yourself. Thank you for listening. If you found this video helpful, please share it with those who need it. Don't forget to give me a like, press the subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell to catch the newest videos every week. Thank you once again, and I'll see you in the next videos.